And that was when the Lord spoke. The Lord had not said anything in terms of words or unctions up until that point. And he said, "You will not be here much longer." Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kashina Bago and I am so excited that you're here with me today. So here on this channel, you will find faith-based content designed to anchor and strengthen your faith in the Lord. So if you have not yet done so, please do subscribe to the channel. Please like and share the video and leave your wonderful comments because I appreciate reading through your comments and praying for you. So guys, in today's video, we're going to be continuing our series on how the Lord provided for our family for 2 years without earned income. So if you have not yet watched part 1 and part 2 of the series, I will have those in the description box. Please go watch those and then come back to join me as we conclude the final episode of this series. Before I even dive in, guys, it is very important for me to say that as we were coming out of the wilderness season, it wasn't as if we moved from not having enough to now having everything. There was no instantaneous breakthrough from nothing to something, from rags to riches type of testimony. That wasn't the case for us. Okay. I know sometimes the Lord will have you just walk into that breakthrough moment. But for us, I would say it was a slow crawl out. Like we had to crawl our way out. We had to restart, reset, and build from nothing. So in this video, I'll be rewinding back to March 2024 and then bring you up to date to where we are currently. So back in March 2024, our son was 3 months old. The last of the Bago clan was 3 months old. On top of that, we started our newest venture, which was a homeschooling program that was fully operational in our home. But guys, if I have to be honest and transparent, yes, we started the program and I thank all of you who supported us with that vision, but the coins wasn't coining. Okay. There wasn't sufficient money that was coming in on a monthly basis that we could have used to sustain ourselves. Because remember, the bank gave us 1 year before we are required to start repaying that loan. And at this point, we're in March 2024. So we only had a couple of months before going back to the bank with something solid. And how are we going to go back saying, hey, we do have a business, but it's not bringing in what we wanted to bring in, but we're standing on faith. So please stand on faith with us. No, it was not going to happen. And to add to that, guys, I remember the county was giving us pushback because they didn't want to give us the appropriate license that we needed to have a whole school in our home. But we thought of another plan, which was to go to our church, the church that we were attending at the time. They agreed that we could use their space, and we were super excited that we were able to transfer this homeschooling program from our home to now the church building. So as we're walking through the process, yet another stumbling block, and that was the insurance cost. So yes, we're able to rent the space, but the cost that it would take to insure the students, insure the building, when it was in use, it was in the thousands. Let me ask you this question. What do you do when you're actively pursuing that thing that God has called you to do? Whether it is a business, some other venture, write a book, whatever it is, what do you do when you quit your job, you move out of your home, you move to a different state or a different country, but it doesn't yield the fruit, or it doesn't give you that aha moment? Now I see what God was talking about, and all you see are closed doors or doors that are partially cracked. What do you do in those moments? So discernment is knowing when to keep pushing, when to keep toiling, when to keep digging, hoping that this thing is going to take off, or to readjust and really go to the drawing board and figure out what is the next plan. So my husband and I had to go back to the drawing board because, again, the time was coming, that 1 year period was coming up when we had to now repay our mortgage. So we had to go back to the drawing board and apply and use godly wisdom. Godly wisdom. Because again, the Lord wasn't giving us any specific instruction on what we need to do or not do. So we really had to rely on biblical, godly wisdom. And I do think that the Lord was deviating from speaking to me in the way that he would normally speak to me, which that would be me praying and I hear a word in my spirit that this is what I should do, or I would have a dream or some unction, or I'll receive a message from someone. The Lord was maturing me and maturing the way that he was speaking to me. So in the season, he was leading me in the way of, see, I have gone before you. And when the Lord is leading you in that way, you have to be still. You have to be at peace in your heart to sit and watch the moves that he is making. So he's not telling me ahead of time what he's doing, or he's not consulting with me while he's doing what he is doing. So in that season, I just had to sit and watch to see where the Lord is going so I can follow. Guys, let me just stop here and encourage you. Do not forsake godly wisdom. If you think the Lord told you to relocate, to resign from your position, or to do something, a major leap of faith, and you find yourself in a place where you don't have food to eat, you're homeless, and you think it's God's will for you to be homeless and be on the street with your children and not have food, let me encourage you to use godly wisdom. So, guys, so my husband and I, so we are back at the drawing board and we were talking about, okay, what is working, what is not working. And he made a horrendous suggestion. And that suggestion was for me to pursue a full time teaching opportunity. I mean, the blasphemy. Because if you have been following my channel for a while, you know that the Lord retired me, so I thought from teaching. So why would he want me to go back? In addition to that, when we moved to Georgia, I threw all of my teacher clothes away, all of my teacher attire, and everything connected to that, I donated. So we came to Georgia with clothes on our back, but it wasn't anything for me to pursue a career. So I remember saying to my husband that I don't think this is the way for me to go, because I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Lord has called me to be a full-time, homeschooling mom where I'm readily available for my children, for my husband, and I'm more effective and efficient in the home. And I remember he said something that really shook my core. And he said, okay, so are you saying that if you were to work full time, you're not able to do those things? If you are working, you cannot homeschool at all. If you are working, you cannot be an effective wife. And that stood with me. So I dragged my feet and I applied for my license to be transferred from New York to Georgia because I didn't think I would need to do that, right? So I applied, didn't hear anything back. So I went back with the report, the bad report, saying that, hey, they didn't answer me. It's been a couple of weeks. I don't know. So I don't think that's the avenue that I needed to pursue. But what kept happening during that time was there was always this voice, this lingering voice saying, but what if? But what if this is the route God wants you to take? But what if the Lord wants you to go back to this thing? But what if? So, with that said, I reached out to that agency that handles the transfer of certificate, and they were saying that, oh, you need to provide this, that, and all these documentation. And let me tell you something, it was just too much. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, there's no way this could be the plan, because the time that it's going to take for me to gather these documents and send them off, I'm going to miss the whole school year. Either way, I went ahead and I reached out to the people that I needed to reach out back in New York, and I got the documents the same day. That was already God working in our favor. So I submitted the paperwork. They replied that they needed something else. At this point, I was just utterly frustrated. I'm like, you know what? I don't think this is the way, because it reminds me of the school situation where the door is open but it's not wide open, and there's a feel when you see the hands of God on something. There is an ease to it, there's a natural organic flow to it, and I wasn't getting that. So, guys, I kid you not. As soon as I hung up the phone from these people, I got an email, and the email was that the license or the application for the license was approved. Not only was it approved, but they actually sent the license in the email. The email came in just like that, right? And reminds me of the scripture that says, "See, I have gone before you and I have made the crooked path straight." So the thing that seemed crooked to me, them requesting all these documents and me not really having enough time to submit that before the beginning of the new school year, the Lord already went ahead and he made that path straight. So in that moment, I received the certificate instantly. Now, how could I not say this was God showing me the way that I needed to take? Did I want to return to a school? No, but clearly he was opening the door for something that I didn't want for myself. So I got the license transferred and I wasn't sure what to do with it. So I just, left it basically. I wasn't applying for jobs or anything. I am still trying to toil with this business, changing the days, changing the schedule, marketing, and I'm really pushing this thing while I have the license on pause. So one day I took my baby to his doctor's appointment, and on the way back, I saw a sign saying that, hey, job fair, the school district is having a job fair the same day. So I went home and I said to my husband, like, you know what? I am going to go to this job fair, not because I want to, but because I feel like you want me to go. So I'm just going to go and see what happens. So, guys, I showed up at this job fair feeling disappointed, not really having any joy about what I'm doing because my heart was not into it. And I saw that the Lord was opening the door towards that direction, but I wasn't excited in my heart to pursue that thing. So I went to the job fair, and I kid you not, I went in nonchalant. And the first school that I decided to interview for, I was hired on spot. Within 5 minutes of my interview, I was offered a contract. Guys, on the way home, I cried, and I cried because I could not believe that the Lord was taking me back to this place that I had left years ago. How many of you feel like the Lord is taking you back, right? From something that you've advanced from. And on top of that, I was taking a $20,000 pay cut when compared to what I was getting in New York. I mean, it was giving backwards. It was giving low pay. It was giving disappointed in God. It was giving, I cannot believe I am here in this situation. What happens when the Lord shows you the way that you should go, but it's not the way that you want to go? So, guys, I started this job and I absolutely hated it. Okay. And let me say, it had nothing to do with the school, it had nothing to do with the administration. It really had to do with me feeling as if I'm not making progress in life. It really had to do with me having an expectation because I know the Lord said that He would give me 5 years in the classroom. I completed those 5 years. So I was just looking for that next thing. So I was just wrestling with some things that I thought I heard, and I was confident in what I heard, and making reference to where I was currently at back in the school. So I was very discontent. I was not happy the entire month of August. I was complaining. However, if I took the time out to really see what God was doing, remember I said that our mortgage was due August 2024. And guess when I started working? August 2024. So all of that went in perfect alignment where we were now able to resume paying our mortgage. Let me also say this. You remember in the beginning, I said that it was a slow crawl out because if our bills were $1,000 at the time, guess how much I'm getting paid? $1,000. Okay. So it wasn't a season where we didn't have enough, it was a season where we had just enough. But guys, I remember just complaining, crying, really praying, saying, God, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't have a clue because everything that I'd believed you for, things are going in the next direction. You said I was going to be a homeschooling mom, full time at home being present with my family. And here I am in the blink of an eye, and I'm away from my children most of the day. The good thing about being in a school is that I was home, or in that school, I should say, I was home 3:15 every day. So I had the ability to continue homeschooling. On top of that, I only worked 7 minutes from my home. So I left school and I was home in an instant. So there were definite positives. But again, there were so much things that I had to work out in my heart. I was not content with where I was. So for the entire month of August, I complained bitterly to any who he who have an ear, let them hear. Let them hear my complaint. Let them hear how dissatisfied I was. It wasn't until the beginning of September where a colleague and I, another teacher at the school, we were having this conversation and she was complaining about something. And we were like complaint buddies. We would always complain to each other about something. And I remember one day she said, "You know what, Bago? I think we just have to practice being grateful in this season and see the positives as to why the Lord has us in this place that He have us. So let's see if we can practice just a heart of gratefulness and gratitude." And guys, for some reason, when she said that, it shifted something inside of me because I began to implement that very same thing where instead of complaining, I just had to see God's hands and the blessings, even in that place where I don't want to be. And it reminds me of a scripture that says, "You should be grateful in all circumstance, because this is the will of God concerning you." Yes, you may not have the job that you want. Yes, you may not have the house or the husband or the health, the finances, whatever it is. Yes, you may not have those things, but can you be content? Can you be grateful in all circumstances? Why? Because this is the will of God concerning you. And I'm not here to be a Debbie Downer, but sometimes God's will may be in a place where we don't want to be. And that was the situation for me. So I applied that godly wisdom of being grateful, of being content. And that was when things started to shift for me a month later in this new position. So we're now in September, guys. And trust me, we're going somewhere because God has a sense of humor. And I'm telling you, like, His ways are not our ways, His thoughts are not our thoughts. So I'm practicing gratitude, I'm practicing being content. And to be honest, I started to love the job. Yes, my complaining stopped. I started to see how I was making an impact on these students' lives. I would come home and I would just share the wonderful stories that I had. And I mean, the job was just, it became a place of ease, a place of comfort. And I was just fully using my skills, my gifting. I was just really applying myself in this new position. And then here comes God. So fast forward now to October. So guys, I have officially completed my first 2 months in this new school. August was the complaint month. September, I began to change my attitude. And so fast forward now, we're in the beginning of November. So I'm going to work happy go lucky at 7 in the morning, going down the stairs, heading to my classroom. And that was when the Lord spoke. The Lord had not said anything in terms of words or unctions up until that point. And He said, "You will not be here much longer." Guys, we serve a God that, let me tell you, if you think you can track His ways, if you think you can, guess His next move and what He wants to do and when He wants to do it and how He's going to do it, prepare to be disappointed. The Lord said, "You will not be here much longer." And I'm sitting there like, I just started the job that you wanted me to have, the job, the only door. And guess what? Let me also say this. Sometimes the Lord will close every door except one. And that was the instance in the case with us. There was no other open door beside me going back to work so we can get on top of these bills. One door. There was no confusion. It wasn't, it wasn't a situation where we had different things that we could have done, right? It was one door. And now the Lord is saying, "Hey, you won't be here much longer." That was a Friday. I went home. I shared that story with my husband Saturday morning. So I said to him, you know what? The strangest thing happened to me while at work, as I'm going down the stairs with my bag and my teacher cup, and I'm stepping and stepping. The Lord told me that I will not be in this position for much longer. Like my time here is coming to an end. So I told him he didn't know what to do with that information, to be honest. So he got out of the room and I'm there on my phone. So I'm saying, okay, Lord, if I'm not teaching, what else am I supposed to do? Because at this point, I don't know. So I grabbed my phone and I'm, scrolling on Indeed. I have a profile set up on Indeed and I'm just looking to see what's possibly out there because I know that my time at this school is coming to an end. And I knew it wasn't going to be another school position, but I just didn't know what it would be. So as I was scrolling on Indeed, I saw a posting about a county. It was for a county close to us that was having a hiring event for police officers. Guys, I have no passion of becoming a police officer. And I was just confused as to why that was there anyway, because my profile was set to education positions. So it just popped up about this hiring event for police jobs, for police officers. So I said to the Lord, this is interesting. And when I read it, I knew it was for my husband. Guys, oh my goodness. So I went, before I went to him, I said, Lord, this is like, this is Rajay, like, this is it. I knew it. I knew it. Mind you, guys, this was the day. God is so strategic. This was the day after the Lord told me that my time was coming to an end. And the funny thing is, God had to say that for me to now look on Indeed to see what other opportunities or options were there. So I went, as I said before, I went, I said, Lord, I'm going to take this to Rajay. And if he agrees, then I know you're calling him to do this. Because this hiring event is a 6-step process, but they're completing the first 2 steps in a couple of days. So I went to him and I showed him, I'm like, Rajay, there's this county close to us that is hiring for police officers and the benefits are incredible. It felt good. It felt right. And he said, okay, I'll do it. I'll try it. So that in and of itself was an answered prayer because I said to the my husband, even though we were in our situation, he got to the point where he wasn't pursuing things that he knew was outside of God's will. He was very patient and he was just waiting for the right opportunity because before then he was like a chicken without a head. Is the job he forklifting, Walmart stocking, Home Depot, Floor and Decor. He was just everywhere. And the Lord had to really gather him together, right? So he got to the place where he just wasn't pursuing any and everything. So I said to him, I'm like, okay, Rajay, there's this hiring event for this county. This was the Saturday. The hiring event was actually the following Saturday. And I'm like, I think you should do it. And he agreed and he was super excited about that. So, as I said, it was a 6-step process where you had to do the physical part of it, an interview. And if you pass those stages, then you had to do the lie detector test and a psychological evaluation and a medical report. And you also had to do a test, a reading and math test, so it was pretty rigorous. So, guys, he went and he successfully completed the first 2 rounds. And after that, the door just kept opening, opening, opening. He just went through the entire process with ease. Generally, the hiring process is 3 months, but he was able to get through the entire 6-step process in a matter of weeks to the point where he was offered a contract. And guys, law enforcement is my husband's passion. He just has he has a heart for justice, and I don't see him doing anything else. If you're familiar with her testimony, you know that he had to give up his position as a detective. Like, he was rising in the ranks while he was living in Jamaica. And when he left Jamaica to come here, he was a detective. And he really has a heart for investigations, for justice, just law enforcement in general. Like, that's why he was created. I always tell him, I'm like, I see you just going through the ranks. He has integrity, he is trustworthy, he's honest. And as I said, he has a heart for justice. That is just how God created him. And to see that after so many years, this opportunity just fell in his lap was nothing short of the Lord's blessing. So, guys, he completed those steps quickly, swiftly. Now he is offered his contract. So at this point, I'm struggling because I'm saying, well, I have my job and there's no way that I am going to break my contract in the middle of the school year. I'm thankful for the job because they gave him a 30-day extension before starting. So I was able to use that 30-day to put my resignation in for my position. And let me tell you, it was heartbreaking because I got so accustomed to the students, and I formed so much positive friendships, and I was really doing my thing, and I felt like I was forsaking the children by not completing the year. Thankfully, everyone understood that I needed now to go home to be with my children. So finally, guys, after a couple of months of working as a school teacher, I was able to return home full time to be a homeschooling mom, to be a full time wife. Remember when we spoke about realigning? I had to realign, I had to readjust. So, no, we were not able to open up a full school in our home. But what the Lord has allowed us to do is to provide support services. And on top of that, we're specifically tailoring those interventions for students with disability. So, as my husband is working full time as a police officer, I am home with the children. I'm providing those services in my home. I am also providing those services online. And I feel like for the first time in 3 years, we're actually walking out the promises that God had originally spoke of years ago before we moved. And the beauty about my husband now working and I'm at home is that his income has the capacity to increase because there's always opportunities for side jobs. There's always opportunities for overtime versus when I was working where my salary was capped. So, guys, that is our testimony. That is our story about how we were able to slow crawl out of the wilderness. So, guys, before I officially close out this video, I would like to encourage you. The first thing is God is sovereign above all things. No matter how challenging your situation may be, no matter how grave your circumstances may be, understand that God is sovereign over it all. The second thing that I want to leave with you is that do not neglect godly wisdom. If you have to return to that 9 to 5, if you have to go back to your hometown, if you have to go live with your mom for a couple of months, do not neglect godly wisdom. God didn't tell me to go back to work. No, he didn't. But what he did was he began to open the door for me to go back to work. Be discerning. Not everything will have a supernatural ending. Release your expectations and allow the Lord to lead you. If he's not saying anything, use godly wisdom and trust that he is sovereign above all things. Trust that he will open and close doors as he see fit. And as I said, guys, the Lord opened one door. So we didn't have much confusion about whether I was to return to work for those couple of months. I had to go back. That was the only door that he opened. So, guys, I'm hoping that you were encouraged by this video. Do not grow weary. Stay strong in the Lord. Use godly wisdom. Pray about all things and trust that the Lord will take care of you. So, thank you guys for joining me. And if you have been rocking with me for this 3-part series, please put it in the comments so I can shout you out and just let you know how much I appreciate you sticking with this 3-part testimony. So, guys, we have officially wrapped up this series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye bye.